Hi everyone, I'm Amy from Gracefully Boho, and I'm going to be showing you today how to draw a mandala. So what you're going to need are some plain white paper or card, a sharp pencil, a good rubber, a black fine tip pen like this one, a compass if you have one. If you don't have a compass at home, you can use circular objects from around the household, different sizes. It's much more accurate with a compass because with the shapes you're going to need to be accurate in layering them in the middle of each other. Pens or paints if you wish to colour your mandala afterwards, which I won't be doing today. If you have a protractor, that's great because then we can measure some perfect lines to make sure we get accuracy. Although mandalas you can draw without a protractor, a lot of people draw them freehand, so they're not as perfect but they still look as beautiful. And a ruler. Start with the basic outline of a mandala. So you need to grab your compass, your pencil, start in the middle of your page, and you're just going to start drawing lightly because we're going to be rubbing these lines out. Eventually we want to have a nice strong black outline or coloured outline if you prefer a coloured outline. Your circles. Now then you can just increase the size and carry on drawing lots of circles. You don't need to be accurate, you don't need to measure the distance between your circles, just draw lots of circles. The more you draw, it means the more detail your mandala will have at the end. So here is one I've done earlier. So if you can see it, and it's hard to see the pencil lines in the light, but I've just drawn many circles. Okay. Then what we're going to do is grab our ruler, and through the centre dot that you've created with your compass, just draw your first straight line, and that will be directly through the middle because you've used that dot. So I've just already drawn my line again quite lightly just so you can see it. Just as a guideline, so I've drawn that line straight through there. Then this is when a protractor will come in handy. I'm going to use the protractor to measure some equal distance sections. If we can section our circles off like a pizza, it just means more accuracy in our shapes. We can try and create some symmetrical, like some matching shapes, and yeah, just give it a lot more accuracy. Okay, so I'm going to measure out equal distances of 30 centimetres. So that's there, there, that. And then I'm going to do the same underneath the line. So just line up your protractor along the line you originally drew again. 30, 60, 90, and fab. And now I can join these lines up, so we're going straight through. Okay. Okay, there we go. Can you see those lines? Very lightly drawn. There we go. Okay, so that's basically our base for our mandala. And then we're just going to build on top of that. You can go straight in with your black fine tip pen if you'd like to, if you feel confident. But I prefer to go in with pencil first, because sometimes I change my mind on the pattern that I'm doing. So I'm going to go with the pencil first. Now, what I've done is I've created, very roughly, so it's not the best, but I've created some shapes. So I kind of wanted to explain the shapes that we're going to be using in a mandala, okay? So these are quite rough shapes. Now, the kind of shapes you use are all leaf and petal shapes if you want to go for a very Moroccan style mandala. So you can draw lots of different, practice different arches, different leaf shapes, different arcs, and then think about how you can fill these in with patterns. So you can use little lines, zigzags, lots of petal shapes like these, little arches, and these are what give you that mandala style, okay? Now back to our drawing. The middle bit you can leave blank if you like. You can create a pattern in the middle, but a lot of mandalas have like an empty space in the middle there. And then if you start from your first line, think about the first pattern you want to make, the first line. I'm going to start with a leaf shape. So I'm going to draw from here and use your lines as the guide. So I want to go up to my third line with this one, like so. If you can see that. Okay, so just do that all the way around. As you can see, we're starting to build up a pattern. Now, with your guidelines, another thing that I find when I've taught how to draw mandalas before is people stick to them too much and they end up just drawing lots of patterns within the lines they've drawn. If you do that, it's not really a mandala style, it's just lots and lots of patterns in a wheel. So you do need to think about creating these shapes over the lines. You need to overlap to create that beautiful kind of flower kind of pattern. So for instance, if we're starting here, we've done some leaf patterns here. My next pattern, my next shape, I might want to do a small arc or arch between the tops of the leaves. Like so. And then into this pattern, incorporating a pattern that kind of goes all the way down through between the original leaves. So you're getting that overlapping feel. So I'm going to just rub out the lines, the guidelines underneath, just in those little leaf patterns. I mean, you don't need to rub them out because you can do that at the end once you've put your black pen directly on the paper. But then you can kind of start to build a shape within that shape. So I'm going to do another little leaf up to the second guideline, and then just fill the arch like a little rainbow, I think. There we go. And start to build up pattern. So I'm just going to fill that in, draw it in black, and then we'll continue with our pattern. So here we are. I've just filled in the black of what I've created so far. Already looking like a very small mandala, a lot more simple than people realise. So I'm just going to place that down. And I'm going to create more detail in this part before I start to spread my shape. So I'm just going to go through where I've drawn and I'm going to rub out those guidelines. Now I'm just going to continue to add more detail in those. So my leaves, I'm just going to draw some more leaf patterns. I draw these directly on with my black pen. Obviously, again, if you're not really sure what you want to do, use your pencil first. Once you're happy with a shape, you can go over it with your pen. Fab. I'm not really sure I'm going to go yet with that, so I'm going to leave that for now, and I'm just going to continue on my pattern. So again, going to use the guidelines. I'm going to draw another leaf shape now. I'm going to go for a different style of leaf. I like the idea of kind of a leafy shape with an arch and a point at the top. Very Moroccan style one. So again, I'm going to use, I think, 3 of my guidelines. It's completely up to you. You might want to go really big, all the way out here, right to the top. You know, it's completely up to you. So all depends on how much detail you want, really. These arches are actually quite hard because I never seem to get them looking symmetrical both sides. But, you know, if you spend a lot of time on them, get there. I'm going to draw all of these ones with pencil just because they can go wrong, these shapes. So I don't know if you can again see that. I'm just going to zoom in a bit. There you go. It's that kind of arch shape there. So I'm going to go around and just finish those. There we go. So I've drawn my next leaf shape. And again, we're just going to think about the detail that we want to put in those. So a double line is always nice, like a double edging. So I'm just going to go around with my black pen. I don't need to use the pencil for this, because I'm just going to follow the line, give them all a double edge. And there we go. So I've double edged all of those. And then I think I'm going to go in with a petal shape in between these. So to do this, I'm just going to rub out my guidelines. And I'm going to create in the middle, from the centre of from here, I'm going to create one petal shape in the middle there, a large petal shape. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to follow that with 2 more petals either side that kind of get smaller. So it feels like a little fan shape. So I'm going to go 1 and 2 and 2. Like that shape there. And again, I'm going to go around and follow that same pattern throughout. And there we go. So I filled in all of those with the little petal shapes. I'm happy with those. Now I'm just going to again go back round, and I'm just going to start to rub out some of my guidelines in those shapes. It's so much satisfaction rubbing out the guidelines so you can see your mandala coming together. I hope you're enjoying this so far and that your mandala is looking great. I'm sure it is. Fab. Like so. Now, something else you can do, which is what I was talking about earlier on, try to avoid just using the lines as a perfect guide, otherwise you'll just end up with lots of circles of patterns, which isn't so much a mandala. But you can do that every now and then. So I'm going to do that next. So I'm going to finish off this perfect circle using the guide around the edge. So where the tops, the line where the tops of my last leaf meet, I'm just going to go around and draw that whole circle in. There's no harm every now and then in using your guide circles as a base for your next lot of leaf shapes. And also remember, so far that is all we've done. All we've done is created lots of different leaf and petal shapes, nothing else. So it really isn't that difficult. You've just got to maybe give a bit of a practice to the different kinds of shapes that you can create. So now I'm going to go around, use that line as a guide. And once I've done that, I'm then going to create a pattern within that. I'm thinking maybe something like a zigzag I might use, just to add a little bit of something else. And let's practice that, see how I feel about a zigzag. Draw another line to follow around and do a smaller zigzag, I think. Yeah, I like the idea. So I'll come back to you once I've done that. So there we go. I've completed my next layer. So now we've gone back to a perfect circle, which is always handy if you're not really sure where to start anymore and you need kind of a fresh start for your next set of leaves and petals. So again, before I start to continue, I'm just going to start adding some detail on the middle. So I'm just going to use what I call fillers, just to fill up any of these little gaps where might feel like I can add some pattern in there. So I don't want to overdo it, especially if you want to colour it in. It's nice to be able to see the pattern you've created. But I think in some of these original leaves, which I weren't sure what to do with, I'm just going to use some little circles. So I'm just going to go around and fill them in. Great shapes to use as fillers, circles, again little teardrop shapes, mini petals, even some swirls, all those kind of Moroccan-y style little patterns that you can create. So I'm just going to go around, fill in my early petals with a little circle. Like so. And again, in the tops of these, there's a little bit of space here, so I can utilise that space. I think again I might use a circle shape, something so simple. It's a great little filler just to add to the detail. There we go. I'm happy with that. I'm also going to maybe create some shapes within these little gaps here. Nothing too over the top, but again, just to add some detail. So I think I might go with just a little double arch, I think. Lovely. Happy with that so far. And now I'm going to start to continue with my shape. So the next bit I'm going to do is I'm going to go with a leaf shape, I think, and I'm going to go right to the top this time. So I'm going to draw a nice big one. I'm not going to fill up all these gaps too much because I want to create detail in between them. So I think I'm going to go with, I'm actually going to use, instead of going between the guidelines like I have been before, I've been using these guidelines and I've been doing my shapes to make sure they're all a similar size between these two guidelines. Now I'm actually going to use the guideline for the centre of my leaf. So I'm going to start at the bottom of the line, draw my leaf all the way to my furthest point, and I'm going to do that on each of the guidelines all the way around. Okay, so I've finished off those leaf shapes. What I've also done is I've just added these, another pattern that we've already done before, so I'm just replicating another pattern where I've done the petal shapes in a group of 5, like a fan of petals in between, to start to create some detail in between. Just to show you that the pattern in between doesn't have to be the same height again, so we're going back to all the different levels, so it looks like that overlapping feel of petals and leaves. So I've created this little fan effect here, and then I'm just going to build on that again. So I think in the middle I'm going to go using my guidelines again, so starting at the base of one guideline and going up to the next. I'm going to use a little arch maybe here, go around and do a little arch. I'm just going to build one section at a time just to show you what I'm doing, and then I'll go around and complete that so you can see. So yeah, I'm going to go with an arch here, and then maybe I'm going to create a mini rainbow effect, maybe do a few arches that take me up to the next guideline, like that. So I've just got 3 arches there, and then I like the idea of like the little tiny flourish of kind of petals along the top. So along that top line I'm going to just do lots of little arches to create like a petal effect, like so. And then in here I think I might create a little swirly pattern actually. So if I just out the top of this leaf here, I'm going to do a pattern that just goes up, round, little swirl, and then over the other side. It needs to be symmetrical patterns. I don't know if you can see that. I'll show you the right way. Like that. Something like that, just to create some swirls, add some swirls in there. Like so. Now, when it comes to the edge of your mandala as well, it depends how you want to finish it off. Some people like to finish it off with that perfectly round outline, which is absolutely fine. So you could use that last guideline that you've done as a perfect outline. Then you're going to end up with a perfect circular mandala. And other people like to finish it off and leave it with the kind of florally effect on the outside. So that's what I'm going to do today. So I'm going to go around and finish this pattern all the way around, and then I'll come back to you. And there we are. I've finished filling in those patterns for you. What I've also done is I've now rubbed out my guidelines, because for me, I'm happy with the outline shape. As I said, you can use the outer circle as a guideline and finish it off if you'd like a perfect circle. But I don't know about you, but I kind of like the flowery pattern on the outside. So that's my base drawing. I'm just going to go over it now and just add a little more detail. Obviously I've got these big leaves I like to fill in. I'm actually going to keep those really simple. You could fill in some more leaf shapes within, just create lots of smaller leaf shapes. I think I'm going to go with, starting from the bottom, I'm going to go with, I might even do alternate. Remember, you don't have to do everything exactly the same. You want to create a kind of, you need to create a pattern, but I might go with alternate. So I'm going to create a smaller leaf shape within that one. And I like the idea again of using the petals. So I'm going to do a larger petal at the top, and then work my way down the edge with some smaller petals. Like so. But I'm thinking I might do that, as I say, on alternate ones. I kind of like the idea of keeping some of them really simple, like an actual leaf. So just drawing a line down the middle. I'm just sketching this out with a pencil first because I don't want to commit to it and not be happy with the final piece. Yeah, I think I like that idea. So I'm going to go straight in them, pen, and we're just going to draw some leaves. You don't want to do every single one different, otherwise it's not a mandala. It needs to be a pattern. So I'm just going to do them alternate. That one a leaf. I'm going to go back to this petal shape. So I'm just on my last two leaf shapes now. So I'm going again back to my original design. I have the large leaf with the petals either side. Draw the petals down the side. I mean, they're not perfect, but see it coming together. And then my last one, I'm just going to go back to my leaf. So like I said, I've done alternate leaf, petals, leaf, petals. As long as it's still a pattern, you can do that. So a leaf is really simple to draw. Keep it symmetrical. So a line straight down the middle of your leaf shape, and then just use chevrons. So your triangular pattern like that down the centre of your leaf. There we go, my last leaf. So there we go. We have our mandala. Now it's completely up to you if you want to go in and fill up some of the gaps. You could even, if you wanted to, draw something in the middle there, but definitely do that part in pencil. The thing is with mandala, because you are trying to create an accurate drawing, you don't want to create a messy flower in the middle and it not be uneven, and so maybe keep your guidelines in the middle from the beginning if you want to go back and draw something in the middle like a flower or something. I mean, I don't know if I can see my guidelines, but if I wanted to, I could try and draw a circle. And then I can just about see my guidelines. Rubbed out. daisy in the middle. Or something like that. I mean, I quite like leaving it blank. I'll fill that in for you anyway, just so you can see what that would look like with a little pattern in the middle. I've done that very roughly. So just a little daisy in the middle. Maybe just finish it off with some detail. So it looks like a flower. There we go. Again, other details you could always add. Things like lines and zigzags in shapes. So for instance, here I might choose to do some lines around the edges of some of my shapes, like so. I could even do that alternate if I didn't want to commit to every one, just to add a little bit more detail. There we go. I think I'm happy with that. Just going to rub out those final guidelines in the middle with the little flower. There we go. And hopefully every time you try to draw a mandala, it will come out completely different. Just try different techniques. So I hope you enjoyed that. And you've got something great out of it. It'd be great if it was on like a square piece of paper and you could frame it and put it on a wall, maybe colour it in first. So yeah, enjoy and have fun creating mandalas.